All the Juggalos in recovery.
Hello, Juggalos in recovery. My name is Frank. I will be running the meeting tonight. Juggalos in recovery is about the community in recovery. There is no judging here. Everyone is unique, and so is their recovery. Our topic tonight is going to be rolled off the gym list. If you don't know what the gym list is, it's the Juggalo Improvement Meeting List. Please feel free to talk about your experience. This meeting is about an hour long for any newcomers. We appreciate the strength and humility you bring to the meeting, and we are happy you are here. Now let's roll some dice. All right. So as you can see here, we have, let's make this a little bit bigger. Here we go. Can you all see that? Okay. All right. I'm going to roll some dice. I actually brought my dice this time. So to start off, we have to roll a d6 off of this. So we have a 6, emotional health. So we will go and scroll down to number 6. And now this is where the fun begins. Let's make that a little bit bigger. There we go. Should get them all. All right. And now the D30, number 10. Number 10, organization. You know what? For the hell of it, I'm going to roll for the 12 steps too. Oh, and step number 12, which is having had your eyes open to this new way of life, we now carry this message to other addicts who are still suffering, whether juggalo or not, because every human matters. So this is how, oh, hold on. That's not what I wanted. There we go. Back to normal. All right. So organization was on the emotional health category. So taking that into account, emotional health and organization. Let's see, how can I arrange that in my head? So organization has always been a pretty big, helpful thing to have in my life. But my way of organizing is chaotic. Organized chaos. And I love it. And it works for me about 50% of the time. And eventually I'll get the hang of organization. But feeling organized makes me have less stress, because even if it is not actually organized to other people and I just have an idea where something is, it makes me feel okay because I don't have to try and figure something out. I have no problem putting in the work it takes to go find something where, oh, I know I threw it in that corner somewhere. I'm okay with that. It helps my mental state, because I know if I needed to be strictly organized, I could do it very quickly with my chaotic organization. hold on a second. Oh, there we go. All right. So, um, I want to spin this a different way. When I was drinking, when I was active in addiction, my emotions were extremely chaotic. They were all over the place. I couldn't control them. I didn't know how to deal with them. I didn't know where they were coming from. I didn't know why they were coming. And then once I got sober, I was able to process and organize them. I was able to figure out reasons why I got angry, reasons why the anger was feeling wasn't actually anger. It was sadness or um, depression, or um, it could just be whatever it was that day. Um, the lack of control was causing me to feel um, lost, and that turned into anger because I didn't know how to feel with dealing, how to deal with feeling being lost. So once I got sober, I was able to start organizing how my emotions played in my head, why they played, where they played, how they affected my outwardly mood. I was able to, what is that word? Compartmentalize those emotions, not in a negative way, in a way that where I can still feel those emotions when I allowed myself to, but I also didn't allow my emotions to control my decisions. Because if I allowed my emotions to control my decisions, my life would be extremely chaotic. Because emotions do not have rules. They do not have laws to abide by. They do not, excuse my French, but they do not give two flying fucks if someone cuts you off in the middle of the road and you want to ram them. Logic does. Logic takes control in those situations, not my emotions. Because I am from Massachusetts. I am a masshole and I hate stupid people driving. And I cannot stand it when I'm getting on to a highway and you don't merge over and you try to run me off the road. What I do now is I'll just ride your ass until you get off the highway. But what I usually would want to do is to run you off the road, tit for tat. But that's what my emotions would want to do. That is not what I should do, which is where this is going. Now, if you want to throw step 12 into this, that's interesting. Because step 12 is reaching out to other people who are still dealing with their addiction, still suffering, still thinking that they are sick and can't be healed, thinking that no one loves them and no one wants them, and that they're better off dead. That's what step 12 is, reaching out to those people and helping them. I would not be able to reach out to those people if my emotions were not organized in a way to where I was capable of separating myself from what they are going through to be able to help them through their toughest times. Because if you have ever reached out to someone who is at their rock bottom, who is at the lowest point in their life, and they call you up and tell you that they want to die, and they are dealing with all of the emotions hitting you at once, hitting them at once, and they don't know how to handle it. You cannot combat their emotions with your own emotions. You can only combat their emotions by letting them know logic. It sounds weird saying it out loud, but logic will conquer that. You will be able to talk them down if you give them facts, if you give them truth, if you give them honesty. Now, in my defense, it doesn't always work because some people are just more hurt than others. They're not unfixable. They just don't have the mental power or emotional well being to understand their position, that they can get better. There's plenty of times where I was in that position and I had to reach out to professional help. There was a couple times where I was in a position where this meeting wouldn't be happening because of my mental and emotional state at one time, on more than one occasion. So being able to heal, processing my emotions, organizing them so I can understand them in my chaotic way of organization, it helps me. The way I see my brain, I'm a very visual thinker. So I picture all my emotions in a box. Each emotion has a separate box. So those emotions, those boxes are on shelves, just stacked in lines and lines and lines. And I'm able to, okay, this is the reason why I felt sad today. And I get to go put that in a box. And then with that, I put in not only why I felt that way, but how I came to get out of that feeling. So in a healthy manner. So I have that to go back to next time I'm feeling sad in a similar way. Um, a perfect example of having my emotions in check would be today having to deal with overhearing a coworker of mine dealing with customer service in the post office because they lost a package. I know how horrible that feels. I dealt with losing luggage for over a month and a half, almost 2 months, and I was extremely upset. And the mood in the room changed, but it was more of my mood changing because of the negativity that was getting thrown into the air because of his emotions. His emotions were valid and understandable. He dealt with them in a healthy way. There was no yelling. There was nothing serious. It was just I was in proximity of it. And that just goes to show you can feed off of other people without even realizing it. At least I do that a lot. Now I can either keep rambling for the next 54 minutes or someone else can chime in. D, just stop raising your hand. Just start talking.
Ha. It's not my meeting. I can't act like I own it. Okay, so
I mean,
I got part of the topic. What was this about organization? What was this other
all right. So
part?
emotional health was a category. Under
I heard
emotional
that part.
health was organization. And then I rolled for a step as well.
Mm.
And the step was step 12.
Yes. Okay. Yeah. Okay. I was just wondering where the organization part was coming from. 'Cause
Organization
I missed that
is,
part.
yep, organization weirdly came in on the emotional health, which I'm kind of happy it did
Which
because it made me get.
I was listening to you talk about it, which is super important. All right. So I finally, because I lived away from my other half for years, and I am a convict in nature or military minded type person. Like I sleep with an extra blanket and keep my bed made at all times. And then us living together and then her not making the bed like would drive me nuts. And I'm like, It's the little things. If I come home after a long, shitty day and my bed's unmade and my room is chaos, I feel chaotic. If I had a long, shitty day and I come to home to a made bed and everything is organized, I am at peace when I finally come home. So like being organized is super important thing for me. Like when it comes to mental health, like if everything's unorganized and messy and chaotic and it's not part of the routine and the organization of how my life is, then I feel a hot mess, you know. I gotta grab you. Hold on. Damn. All right, sorry about that. And then right, like without being like emotionally healthy and like at peace, how good a service are you to somebody else? You know what I mean? Like, and the biggest part of recovery is being of service to other people. Like I get more from helping somebody else or from running a meeting or going into a detox or going to a treatment center or whatever the case may be, whatever 12-step program I am, I get more feeling of purpose and usefulness when I'm able to be service of others. You know what I mean? Like I feel better. I get more out of it. It keeps me sober. It keeps me spiritually charged. You know what I mean? So they kind of go like hand in hand, right? Because if your cup's empty, you don't really have nothing to offer the next person. You know, if you're run down, like you were saying, there's times you weren't able to do this. Like, and I had a rough week personally, like service work with a blood family, you know, trying to help him out, and then him just like say fuck it. Fuck the roof over my head for supposedly a piece of ass and doing this. And I'm just like, you know, like I can't do this no more with you. Like I am not of service of you anymore. I'm enabling you and I'm done. You know, so you gotta like also learn to draw the line, like, am I being of service or are you just being an asshole and you keep asking and I keep helping, but you're not ready to make that change. Right. And so I had that weighing on me, and then, you know, the stressors of wedding stuff. And if I wasn't organized, I would be way more stressed and overwhelmed than I was, but it's already stressful and overwhelming enough as it is. But at least I had like a game and plan and it's all organized and like stuff's coming together. Surely but slowly. Um yeah. Time counting until the wedding. And I was surprised to see how many people were like, oh, there's no Friday night. And you see the comments. And I'm like, well, sorry, I will see you that day. So I appreciate you picking up that Friday night. I know that's like 5 a.m. for you or whatever.
I'm not.
Over.
No, I'm not worried about the time, especially with how many people said they want the meeting. I'll make sure that it's getting done next week.
The Friday is becoming popular. I guess it's a good time when you have money burning a hole in your pocket, or everybody's out partying and you don't party.
Yeah, that was your theory, and it started winning. But you made very, very good points with that. The boundaries are, in my head, I think boundaries are another way of a very loosely organization, because it organizes. Now, try to bear with me here, because this is like, all right. So setting your boundaries allows you to organize yourself over other people's needs and wants from you. By setting those boundaries and sticking to them, you say, no, this is what my limit is. I cannot give you any more of myself than what I already am. And some people, like those assholes out there, will try to push those boundaries. I used to be one of those people. And then I became the people dealing with those assholes. I've been on both sides of that. And it's very, very interesting to me. See, this is why I like this book, is because it makes me think of words in a different manner. Because I never would have thought organization would fall into boundaries. What the hell is that?
It's a
Looks like
ghetto
another
rainbow.
planet. Looks like a planet coming into our planet. That's
It's the
pretty
golden
cool.
ghetto with a ghetto rainbow. What the
I
fuck could
like
that be?
that. Nice.
Keep going. Signs from God here, from the higher
Yeah, I know,
power.
right?
Keep going.
So let's see. Organization. What other types of organizations can have an impact on your emotional and mental health? A big, humongous, emotional, traumatic thing, if you are not organized with it, is your money. You are not organized and stick to those excruciating hard boundaries that you have to set for yourself when dealing with your money. Your emotions are going to get all over the place. You're going to get stressed out beyond belief. I know when I was drinking, boy, I would sell my soul for a 20 spot so I can go to the liquor store and just go get a cheap bottle of rum or whatever. And I'd start mixing it. I mixed it with so many ugly, disgusting things. I had some disgusting drinks just to get drunk. Um,
Still reserves.
oh, I went cheaper than that, man. I'm talking about like like it was a handle of vodka that all it said was vodka on it, and you mix it with Mountain Dew, and I mean, you kind of taste Mountain Dew depending on how strong you make it. But I would do anything. Like it was like 2 days, not even 2 days. It would be like I get paid on Friday night. It'd be Saturday night, and I do my best to have all my bills paid, or the bills paid that would have a huge effect on, having a roof over my head and stuff. So I'd have my roof and my apartment paid, my electric paid, and I all my cars are usually paid off. Um, I hardly ever had insurance when I was an alcoholic because who cares? Um, and then I would spend the rest of my money on alcohol. And of course, I would treat myself with the expensive shit, what I call the expensive shit, nothing over like $40. And I would go out and get as much alcohol as I could. I'd get those like shitty pre-mixed shot ones like the Bahama Mamas and the Hurricane, the Blue Hurricane mixes and shit. And then a bunch of my drinking buddies would come over and we'd all do this, and I was not responsible with my money. I would be out of money by the end of the weekend, and I still had 2 weeks to go to get to work. I was smoking cigarettes at the time, to smoke cigarettes and eat. When I first got sober, I was eating ramen noodles strictly for a year. That's all I would eat because I needed to save money. I had a DUI fine to pay off. I had to purchase a new vehicle. I had to, pay people to drive me to and from work and go places because I lost my license. Um, I had to be extremely strict with my money. I ended up having to work 2 jobs because of it. And then I started going to college after my DUI fine was paid off. So I would work a full-time job, um, get off work, go to my next job, work until 10, 11 o'clock at night, drive an hour, about 45 minutes to an hour back to my apartment, go to sleep, wake up 5, 6 hours later, and do it all over again all week. And I was cleaning up. Yeah, I was cleaning up my My second job was janitorial stuff, cleaning up an office building. And I remember one of the worst nights in that building. I walk in, my one of my things on the second or third floor, my responsibility was to clean the ladies' room. And I walk in, and there's an out of order sign on one of the stalls. Someone had shit on the floor. And I was furious. And it was looking back, it was at that point in time that I realized just how important it was for me to be more strict with how I spend my money, because I do not want to have to keep literally cleaning up other people's shit. Go ahead, D.
Yeah, I raised my hand again. So I mean, going back to the bed making thing. So I was taught in like early recovery, start small, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right. The simple thing of like keeping your stuff organized and making your bed forms those healthy habits and rituals, which go
Mm-hmm.
on to saving money so you can get your license and your car back. All that stuff that I've done, right? Learning to budget, right? Because like you were saying, when I was out there drinking, like I would army crawl to my mom's purse to steal money if I had to. Like it didn't fucking matter. Like I would pawn whatever I had to go get booze.
Mm-hmm.
I would do whatever, do a tattoo for fucking $50 so I had enough money to get drunk and high, or $100, like next to nothing. You know, let me sleeve your arm for $100. You know, like fucking stupid shit. You know what I mean? So like I was a slave to a dollar or a paycheck and did a whole bunch of shit I would never want to do in my recovery that made me miserable. I hated all my jobs. I hated what I was going through to stay drunk and high. Right.
Mm-hmm.
And I get sober and I form these healthy habits. And, you know, I humble myself and do some shit I don't like. But in the long run, I end up with jobs that I love, around people that I love, and feel a purpose and useful in them. You know what I mean? Compared to the chaos that was addiction and alcoholism, you know what I mean? Because that's what it
Yeah.
was. It was always chaotic. And you spend, at least for me, like from 12 to 30, your whole life is chaotic, except for like when I would get locked up, because there's structure in there, and I tend to thrive
Mm-hmm.
in structure. I thrive better in structured environments, which I think a lot of alcoholics and addicts, you know, that's why like sponsorship's important, and having a network of people. When you have people that will tell you, hey, you're thinking wrong and that might be a mistake, why don't you try this? You know, it's a form of structure, which is a form of
Mm-hmm.
organization,
Yeah.
to a degree. You know what I mean? So
That's what the
like
military taught me.
you start with making a bed, keeping your shit fucking organized, you know, keeping your laundry done, you know, actually putting it away when you finish doing it. And it forms to other habits, which lead you to other like-minded people, which help push you further. But it doesn't come without like putting in work for yourself to start out with, you know. And yeah, that's all I wanted to say. I'm gonna shut up again.
Yeah, see, the military taught me that. The military taught me organization, and um, it taught me a lot about structure and routine. The problem I have with routine is if you follow a routine long enough, you will get complacent. If the routine does nothing for you, you can get up and you can go to work and you can go and do things and go make money and then come home and deal with whatever responsibilities you have at your house and then go to sleep and do it all over again and have the normal everyday routine. So if you have that routine set in stone, you're not saving any time for yourself. You're not doing any self-care. You're not putting yourself before your responsibilities. Your number one responsibility is yourself. I know I was taught in AA that my number one responsibility is my sobriety. I've taken it even further. My number one responsibility is me, because no one else is going to take care of me except me.
I say that all the time. What are you gonna do when nobody's there to pick up a phone, there isn't a meeting to go to, and you're about to go over the edge. At the end of the day,
Mm-hmm.
it's you and the man upstairs, right? Or whoever you believe in, the carnival or Buddha. It doesn't matter what you believe in. Whatever you're looking for your higher power, because humans spell humans. That's just the nature of it. Everybody has a life. Everybody is adults. Everybody has their own stuff going on. At the end of the day, it's you. Or what are you doing to stay like fit? You know, like you do have to have like your regular meeting. And just because you get sober doesn't mean you stop living life. I like to go shoot pool occasionally or go play darts or go to a show, or you still got to do things for you. Like you can't, like, even it's great to have a routine, but you always have to find time to do things that you like to do, you know,
Yeah.
that you can find some peace and zen in, or you can break the mundane routine. You're like, oh, that was great. You know, I ain't done nothing in a few weeks. I'm going to go do this, you know? And I try to do it like that. You know what I mean? Like be able to still do stuff
Mm-hmm.
amongst handling my responsibilities.
Yeah. And see, I would go even further. At this point in my sobriety, I've gone even further than just saying sobriety is my number one priority. Sobriety at this point is staying sober is easy to me. What sobriety means to me is how am I improving myself today?
Emotional and
That
mental sobriety,
yes,
spiritual sobriety is way
and
different.
and
Yeah.
growth and growth and
Mhm.
maturity. How am I improving myself today? How am I becoming more mature? What lessons am I learning? What things am I putting into action today that I didn't do yesterday? How am I taking care of myself better today than I was yesterday? Those things are my priority because, yes, even though sobriety is the most important part of my life, but so is me, because if it wasn't for me, then there's no reason to have sobriety. So I have to take care of me first.
Well, I think
And
that's something that develops after like going through the steps thoroughly, you know what I mean?
mm-hmm,
Because you learn to find like being comfortable in your skin, you learn to accept
mm-hmm,
yourself, you go through this growth and change, you learn this peace and happiness, right? Now you're
yeah.
like, how do I keep this peace and happiness, right?
Well,
That
see,
continues what you're talking about. You have to do those things to keep that peace and happiness.
I agree, and I think, I think, I think we're talking about the same things that we're just talking about at different steps. So for me, yes, the steps in sobriety and everything that we've gone through in early recovery is part of the process. That should be our number one priority in the beginning. But to me, it's all part of the same thing. Because if I'm taking care of myself, then those steps and those responsibilities and me go taking care of all my past traumas and healing and all that stuff is all going to come naturally to me, because in the process I'm learning all those things. So not only is my sobriety being number one in early recovery, but so is myself, because now I'm not only learning how to deal with emotions and deal with mental and emotional and physical trauma, I'm also learning how to take care of myself better and counteract all those things that was beat into me growing up. So
Yeah,
to me, it's all one big giant ball that works together.
it is all like you're saying at the same time. But when you're in early sobriety, you don't see it that way. Like looking back, the
Mm-hmm.
longer you have sober, you're like, oh, it's just like one fluid fucking thing
Mm-hmm.
that keeps
Yeah.
going. Like some
And
people are
see,
like dread the step work, and I'm like, really, honestly, if you think about it, you wake up and you go through the steps every fucking day
mm-hmm.
if you're doing it right, like
Yep.
without knowing it.
Yeah. And at this point, like, I don't even realize half the time that I'm doing one of the steps because it comes so naturally to me because I put in that repetition work all the time. And in early sobriety, it would come back to organization. It's another form of organization, having that structure, having that routine of, okay, this is a new tool I have to learn, but you have to sit there and you have to study it and you have to put into action with it. If you don't put it into action, you're not going to learn it. So if you don't learn it, then how are you going to have it come naturally to you later on down the road?
Yeah, and this will kind of like go back to what Ernie was saying before the meeting. Like I I remember going to my first meeting when I was like 12. I come from a line of alcoholics and addicts, right? All those seeds were planted. I've been court ordered like the people he's talking about where he's at, you know what I mean? And I never wanted to be involved in a 12-step program, but I'm so glad I got put in a position to accept being involved in 12-step programs that fundamentally changed my life. Like I always knew that was the answer, but because I come from a line of alcoholics and addicts, I was like, I don't want that to be the answer. But the back of my head, I always knew like that's where you're going to end up at if you're not dead or in prison, you
Mm-hmm.
know? And that's the hard part, is coming to terms like I need this, because obviously everything I do and all the self-knowledge in the world isn't going to make me change the addict and alcohol. Like, I was reading psychology books when I was a teenager. That didn't make me stop drinking or drugging.
Nope.
Learning how my mind worked, or these things that make me drink and drug because the emotions are overwhelming, didn't make me not drink and drug.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? It wasn't until I actually decided I will give this a shot. If it's worked for all these fucking people, why not me? You know, and even though I'm the sore thumb sticking out in these different fellowships, they've done just as much fucked up shit.
Mm-hmm.
And if they can do it, then I can fucking do it. What makes them any different than me? I'm not fucking unique. I suffer from the same fucking shit.
And see, one of the things I don't care about with other programs is they teach the people in them to define themselves by their addiction. I have an addiction problem. I am not an addict. That's not what defines me. I am a human being with an addiction problem. That is what, if you see me keep looking this way, it's because I'm looking directly at your face, but your face is not right under the camera.
Oh, I get that from cheering the meetings. I get
Yeah.
that.
So,
But yeah, we're so much more than what we overcame. We were,
yeah, and see, that's
you
the
know,
thing, and
and
especially in early recovery, like people who, like I remember when I was in early recovery, like all I did was define myself as an alcoholic. That's all I was. That's what my life was. And then I would push it onto everybody else. I would force myself to see other people's problems and say, oh, you're an addict. Oh, you're an addict. Oh, you're an addict. Because I was defining myself, but I hadn't healed enough to see that just because they have issues doesn't mean that they're an addict. They just have issues that they haven't worked through yet.
yeah, I mean, I guess it's different where you come from. Like, you're a masshole. I guess whatever they do up there is not the same as down here. And I did DAA, and my sponsor showed me in the beginning of the book, it says recovered. I am not
Mm-hmm.
an alcoholic or addict. I'd make sure I announce I am a grateful, recovered alcoholic and addict. I was
I
one.
actually
I
got
am.
sober in Illinois.
Okay, well, wherever they do it, I hear a lot of
Yeah.
people that come down here
Mm-hmm.
say it's different where they come from, and the energy down here is different, and the way we do things is
Mm-hmm.
different, and the DAA stuff is different. And I'm not the addict and alcoholic. I'm recovered. I am a human that has overcome my alcohol and addiction, and as long as I keep growing and changing, I don't have to go back to that. Which goes
Mm-hmm.
back to what you're talking about, complacency. When I get complacent and I don't have a network of people and I'm not involved, that's when I'm going to fucking, fall head first if I'm not ready for it. You know what I mean? And it doesn't matter your length of sobriety or clean time. If you're not growing and changing and you quit doing the things that are working and think that everything's going to be fine, maybe it will be for a little while, but eventually it will bite you in the fucking ass. Like that is
Mm-hmm.
just, I've seen it happen so many times to so many different types of people, that went, well, that's not going to be me. I'm recovered. Like, I don't stay sober off of what I did a year ago, a month ago, a week ago, yesterday. What am I actively doing in that day to maintain? You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. So I'm gonna spin it all into one big thing. So we're talking
Fuck
about
yeah.
emotional health with organization and step 12. That's our main topics. That's our what we rolled tonight, Chris. So when you do 12 step work, you're going out to or meeting with a newcomer or whatever, and you as a human being need to be organized because you need to be prepared for whatever these addicts are going to throw at you. You don't know what their excuses are. You don't know what they've been through. You don't know what they've done. You don't know what they're feeling at that moment in time, how low they actually are. So you, as a person, need to be organized to deal with whatever they deal with, which means you need to be calm, cool, and collected. And then on top of that, to be able to accomplish that, you need to have the emotional and mental stability to be able to be that organized, to be able to go out and help other people and get to their very, very first step, which is admitting that they have a problem and they need help. And then helping them work through the rest of the steps and getting them to a point to where they can start going through the steps on their own. It's only taken me 30 minutes to tie all three of those together. It's been a roller coaster, Chris.
I can imagine. I didn't get the notification that you guys had gone live, so I just now saw it.
No, well, hey, we're live.
Yeah. So, which one is step 12?
Step 12, I will read it to you. Let me bring it open. I literally just closed the book. I will read it to you, but step 12 is where you help people who, let me just read it. Hold on.
I was going to be a smart ass, but I'm not. It's servicing others, Chris.
Yes. Step 12. God damn it, T. Step 12, having had our eyes open to this new way of life, we now carry this message to other addicts who are still suffering, whether juggalos or not, because every human matters.
You know, for me, having read these steps and also helping write these steps, I still don't remember them half the time. So we've got emotional health, then serving others.
We rolled emotional health category, and then under that category we rolled organization. So organization tying to emotional health. And then I said, screw it, we're going to roll a step as well today. So we rolled step 12. So now we had to tie all three of those things together, which was very really interesting.
Easy. You got to get your shit together before you can help other people.
Yes, now do it in long form.
Long form isn't my thing, but it would be you have to be able to focus on yourself, make sure you're emotionally stable, organized, and willing with your time schedule and what skills you have to make yourself available to help other people in the areas that they're struggling in. And during that whole process, you're still going to find areas where you also struggle, which you then have to tackle before you can help them.
So what are some, I'm going to put Chris on the spot since he was late to show up. So what are some of the struggles someone new to sobriety or recovery would have with emotional health organization?
So that's one of the things that I feel like is probably the most common is especially people new to sobriety tend to throw themselves into 12-step programs super hard and then end up neglecting everything in their personal life. So it would be learning how to maintain relationships as your main coping mechanism that exists outside of your program.
I mean, that's very important because I've seen that happen. Like my dad was one of those, like family on the back burner because recovery. Like having a work-life recovery balance was like extremely hard in the beginning, like which is something I had to learn too, you know, like over time, you know.
Yeah, I feel like that was all of us at some point though. You know, we all kind of threw it all into recovery all at once and then we tried to pick up the pieces afterwards. So if we're trying to help somebody that's new to recovery, we've got to help them regiment their life in a way that they can find that balance, either by us telling them exactly what to do and then them just listen to us, or just tell them to figure it out the hard way.
I always hear, like, in other 12-step programs, like, it makes me sick to my stomach, like, hearing it. When I hear it, like, oh, meeting makers make it. And I'm like, I went to 2 meetings a day for like 5.5 years and still got drunk and high. Like, the meetings is for fellowship. It's not what keeps you sober. Right. And like this time around in recovery, like, I went hard like my first 90 days to find my network of people. You know what I mean? And then like now I go to like one meeting a week that's not a JIR meeting. You know what I mean? Besides the Zoom meetings, I go to one physical meeting a week, and I'm fine with that. If I need somebody, I know how to use the phone. If I need a meeting, I know where to go. And you know, but like the meetings like can't take priority over my inner peace or my growth or my family or my work responsibilities. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like
And
the
see,
meetings are great. Zoom super convenient. I don't have to take 3 hours to go to a meeting and do all the, you know what I mean?
Mhm.
But that's something I had to like learn, you know. And once you get through your steps or whatever you got to do and go through that healing process, you know, it's not, you don't have to stay going 2 or 3, you know, you can ease up, you know, as
And
long as you're
see,
growing.
I've seen people deal with that issue as well, not being able to prioritize their life right, because they take the put your sobriety first to an extreme. We don't, us as addicts, us being told, oh, you've got to do this, you've got to put this first. We don't know how to, oh, what's the stupid word? Moderate. We don't know how to moderate stuff. That's literally what got us into the rooms. It's literally what's caused all our problems in our life.
We do
And it,
everything to the extreme.
right, exactly. So if someone comes up to you in early recovery and is like, no, meeting makers are going to make it, and you have to make your sobriety number one priority in your life. Well, what are we going to do? We're going to drop the rest of the world and we're going to do that. So that's counterproductive, because now you're shitting all over the people in your life that you're trying to fix those relationships with. So the people who understand that you cannot just cut the world off, you have to be able to deal with your sobriety and deal with your recovery in while also dealing with the world. And it might sound, especially to newcomers, like it's a huge deal and it's a lot of shit going on all at once. But the reality is, if you literally take it minute by minute, it is not going to be that big of a deal. Because I know D, me, my wife, and Chris all have hundreds of things going on all at once. And yet we're peaceful and we're serene, and we just deal with what comes, because we have no control on what comes. We just have control on what we give out. And
And
that's what we
I
handle.
think it goes back to what you were saying earlier. Like, it's not the meetings, right? It's finding that person you click with or that has that similar background, because we're chaos out there, teaching
Mm-hmm.
us and walking us through whatever 12-step you're in, and showing you how to live life, showing you how to grow and change, teaching you how, like, hey, I'm going through this. How did you deal with it? That's what we do. That's how we're service the
Mm-hmm.
other ones, so they can walk through the same shit we had to walk through. And helping somebody takes you back right into your early days, so you don't forget where you came from, which I think is very important thing in recovery. Never forgetting where you came from,
Yeah,
but knowing
because it
I am
humbles
not what
yourself.
I came from. I'm more than that.
Yep. You're not what you used to be. You are what you've made yourself to be today. But remembering where you've been helps you become better than you were yesterday. I just made that up off the top of my head. I think that's pretty cool. It needs to go in my book.
It should.
um, Well, I think that's all the good wisdom my brain had for that moment. So, Chris, your turn.
It's so it's that thing, we've got to be organized. If we don't have the ability to balance and juggle all of the things that we all have to do as functioning humans, we're bound to fall into our alt cycles because they feel normal. So one of the first things that we really do need to focus on is finding your balance, getting into that schedule, and then also being able to deal with erratic changes because that's a constant thing in life as well. As I'm sure you know how that goes as well as the rest of us. Life throws a wrench in everything. You can't plan out your next 6 months. You can plan out your next 5 minutes, and then you can plan your next 5 minutes.
And sometimes you can't even do that. Sometimes you literally have to take it moment by moment.
Yep.
Tell me about it. I'm ready for the wedding to be over and get back into my routine because I like my Friday nights, and they're thrown to the wind right now because family and relationships. Eh?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
I'm saying,
Priorities. Oh, I
I
don't
don't know.
want to hear it, Mr. Gamer Weekend.
hey,
I'm just
I'm in the
glad
middle
I
of building an
found.
arcade and dealing with Chinese suppliers.
I'm just glad I found y'all like in the middle of like the COVID stuff and got connected with y'all. And it was like I was going through some like slumps in sobriety, so I got to find like a new network of people outside of the norm here and find something else to dive into that is my cup of tea. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? When like Ernie was saying, I'm still the sore thumb out when I go out. I mean, just look at me. I'm not I'm not like everybody else in a 12-step room, you know what I mean? So it's good to find people on the same wavelength, that get it.
Yeah. Ernie, do you have anything to add?
Don't really have much to add, just kind of listening, absorbing.
Okay. Well, just
Um,
seeing, you're more than welcome to share anything or ask questions. There's a lot of wisdom in this room.
I was totally
Yeah, just
relating to your
like I
share
said, just
beginning of the
listening
meeting,
and
Ernie.
That's cool. You're more than
yeah,
welcome to just sit there and listen.
We do also have the YouTube channel if you want to go
Mhm.
back and listen to other meetings and hear us talk about a bunch of other shit.
yeah. I watched a few of them a couple days ago.
The channel is doing really good. I'm happy that people are watching it as much as they are. Sorry, business side of Frank came out. Um, I mean, just being able to log on to the studio and seeing how many people are watching and all that stuff and the comments that we're getting, it's doing better than my own YouTube channel, which makes me happy. So let's see. If I had to give one piece of advice to someone who wanted help, it would probably, especially on this topic, it would probably be take your time and figure out your priorities.
I would say prioritize self over everything.
I would say start small and dream big and never give up on yourself.
Okay. See, the reason why I said take your time and figure out your priorities is because I remember when I first got into sobriety, I was shit at figuring that out, at figuring out what meant the most to me. And it wasn't until years down the road that I actually came up with a system to figure that out. And it was actually through a psychiatrist that I was talking to. I believe it's actually in my first book, the worksheet that she gave me. But priorities are very, very important because it teaches you not only what means the most to you, but also what you're willing to deal with. And anything outside of what you're willing to deal with is going to feel toxic to you. It might not be toxic to other people, but if it's toxic to you, then it's bad. And either if you can control the situation, then you make it not toxic. But if you can't control it, then you walk away from it. You protect yourself from that toxicity because that toxicity is contagious. And the more you're hanging around with toxic situations or dealing with toxic people, the more toxic your life is going to be. So if you figure out your priorities, yourself should always be number one, because if you don't take care of yourself, no one else is going to, and then you won't be around long enough because you didn't take care of yourself. You won't be around long enough to help others. You won't be around long enough to experience life. So you have to put yourself as number one, and then whatever else comes after that. For me, I put myself first, my family, my bills, Juggalos in recovery. And then after that, nothing else really matters to me. That's it. Family to me is everyone I'm close to. Chris, Dee, my wife, the close friends. Friends, they come and go. Their seasons, their days of the week. It all depends on why they came into my life. But family never goes. True family never leaves. And I could not talk to Chris and Dee for a year and then all of a sudden catch up with them and we'd act like nothing happened. Because that's just how shit is. That's literally how me and Chris have handled life for the last few years. So just don't talk to Chris for a year and be like, oh, hey, it's gathering time. Where are we going? What's going on? And that's how life is. So anything above those four things in my life, it doesn't affect. I don't allow it to have a huge effect on my life because it's out of my control. It's out of my zone of give a shit. And if it's out of my zone of give a shit, then you're not going to get the shit I give.
Yep.
I just got goosebumps there. I got goosebumps there. I got the God bumps or whatever you want to call it, the spiritual bumps going on there, because I can relate to that. And I said to start small and dream big because the meeting topic, right? Day by day, minute by minute, small steps lead to those big things that you want to do. Like, and your potential is unlimited as long as you're putting forth the effort. So you start off with the small habits and it leads to big things. Like if you would have told me I have my four-year ship because of you, I'm getting it here on November 3rd. My sponsor, I was like, I got a Juggalos and recovery ship for you to give me. He's like, y'all have those? I'm like, yeah, you're going to give me a DAA one and a Juggalos and recovery one. He's like, awesome. So I have to pass that to him this weekend to give to me. But when you said the family thing, like I started getting the goosebumps, like, because on my trip to the gathering, I stopped, like y'all know, and seen some people I haven't seen in forever. And it's like we're still in middle school. It hasn't skipped a beat. Like, that's my family, you know? And then like I met you and the most we did was text and video chat or whatever. And I was like, this is like my homie right here. This is like my brother. You know, same with Chris. It's like I only know y'all video calls, but I felt the most welcome in that home and at peace, like hanging around with y'all at the festival. You know what I mean? And you don't find a lot of people like that come in your life that you're like, you just click or you're inspired by or you look up to, that you can go, this is my homie. You know what I'm saying? And doesn't matter if we didn't talk months or weeks or years or however long, but when we see each other, it's just like, it's the vibe. You know what I mean? And I have plenty of people that are friends that are closer than any blood relative, you know. Like Jay says, fucking third cousin, get the fuck out of here. Like, I don't even know most of my family and I don't want to know them. I'm okay. Because I know my friends and my family I have in my life are the ones that matter.
I agree. What are you gonna say, Chris?
I was just gonna basically reiterate the same shit D just said. So it's all about the same. I know if you can't focus on your family, you can't focus on your friends. If you can't focus on your family and your friends, you need to focus on you. If you can't focus on you, there isn't anything that you can do to better yourself. So you need to figure out a way to focus on yourself, to better yourself, to then serve your family and your friends.
I like it. All right. Well, if everyone has done blabbing, I will end the meeting because, wait, is it time already? Yes, it is time, right?
It is time. Can't wait
It
to
is
show you
time.
all the videos and pictures coming up from the wedding. You're going to fucking love it.
Can't wait.
I'm
You better
excited.
post them in the group too, because that's family right there.
I will. I wish y'all could come all the way down to Florida for it because it's definitely a Juggalo Halloween type wedding. Y'all are gonna fucking love it.
That's awesome. All right. To end the meeting, I believe no matter how long the road, if we walk together, we will get there. Even though we will face some of the darkest evil ever seen, we will face it as a community and stand fearless in its path. Nothing will stop us. With the help of our family and community, we will overcome the persecution and tribulations that life may cast from time to time. To the ones who still suffer and haven't found the path to serenity and community, we will continue to search for you and help you no matter your ailment. We carry our stories and messages to everyone who will listen. As the sun descends and night becomes, we arise to take the path. Thank you all for showing up, and whoever's watching this on YouTube, feel free to subscribe. Please.